Okay, so next topic is Angular 2 directive. And here we're going to talk about the built-in directive. Later on, we're going to learn how we can create our own custom directive. So let's talk about what a directive is, and then we are going to see two different types of directives: attribute directives and structural directive. Attribute directive include ng class and ng style, and both of those in regard they are basically setting some CSS styles. Structural directive include ng-for, ng-if, and ng-switch with ng-switch case. So let's talk about each of these in a bit more detail. So what is a directive? So we have learned so far a component, and component is made of component class, metadata, and template, right? Directive is actually something that could be used inside your template. Okay. So Angular templates are dynamic. By using directive, you're basically instructing Angular to transform DOM dynamically. So as I said, there are two kinds of directive: attribute directive and structural directive. Attribute directive is used to alter the appearance or behavior of an element. Okay, whenever you're using attribute directive, it interacts with an element is applied to. It's applied to an element. Okay, it is applied as if they are attributes of an element, so that's the reason it's called the attribute directive. And examples of attribute directive that are provided in Angular includes ng class and ng style. Structural directives alters the layout by adding, removing, and replacing elements in DOM. So it's basically adding elements. Okay? Underneath, it interacts with the current view container because it's not changing an element behavior or appearance. Instead, it's actually adding some kind of element or removing some kind of element and things like that. Okay? Again, we have seen an example of ng-if, right? So examples of those structural directive include ng-for and ng-if. Okay, so let's take a look at each of these in a bit more detail. By the way, component is a directive. So component is a directive with a template. Directive does not have template. Okay, so you can think of both component and directives are instructions to Angular on what to do. Okay, so let's move on to learn attribute directives. So, first ng class and ng style. So ng class directive is used to associate styles, and basically this is the name of the style. Okay, so you can actually specify these styles in your CSS file, and then you can specify those styles using ng class directive. Okay, and on the other hand, ng style, basically instead of actually specifying a CSS class, you can specify JavaScript object in which you can specify the style attribute directly, like this. Okay, so let's actually do ng class and ng style. So I'm going to actually open the new folder. I just created a data binding app. Oh, not data binding app. I meant to actually use the directive app. Sorry. And we're going to actually start the server. So start the integrated terminal, and we're going to say ng serve. Okay. And we should see the app works. So let's actually create the another component. So here I'm gonna say ng generate component, and I'm gonna say directive component. So I'm gonna just say directive, and it will create a directive component. Okay. And so first of all, we want to add this directive component into the parent template. So here app directive. Okay, because if you take a look at directive, the name of the component is app directive. Okay, so when we save the change, we should actually see, oops, we should actually see directive works message, okay, as expected. All right, so what we want to do is we want to create the two dev element. One is using ng class and the other one is the ng style. All right, so I'm gonna actually go to the template of the directive, and so I'm gonna just remove this guy, and let's say ng class and ng class and ng style attribute directives. Okay, so here I'm gonna have a div element, and here I'm gonna actually use the ng class. Okay, so I'm gonna use the code completion a2ng class, ng class. Okay, so you can see this is the CS class and expressions. Okay, so here I'm gonna actually use I'm gonna just use the example that we saw here. Okay, so here border, and here this is gonna be true or false. True, and we are going to have another one here, background. Again, it could be true or false, so we can actually change these things. So I'm gonna say true. Okay, and then we have to actually create the CSS styles of this name. It doesn't have to be border, or so let's actually use my border or something like that. My border, and my background, or something like that. And basically we have to create my border CS style. Oh yeah, it has to be a style. So here, my border, and let's actually have a border here, 3px and solid and green, or something like that. And also we create my background, and here the color, background color is going to be about yellow, something like that. And we also have div style here, width is 50 pixel and height 50 pixel. Okay, so we have defined several styles here, and in our component we are basically using those styles. Okay, so let's see whether that works. Yeah, so I have to actually provide some content here, right? Okay, my ng class example. Okay, so let's see whether that works. Okay, so you can see my class example. Yeah, I don't have to actually have this the message, so I just make it short like this. Okay, so you can see the style has been applied. Okay, so this is an example where we're using ng class. Now we're gonna actually use ng style. So we're gonna have div, and here this time we are gonna use the to ng style, ng style. Okay, so here you can specify the style directly. So this is going to be JavaScript object. So here I can say the background color, or so let's see what is the one that I just use in example. Yeah, background color. So here background color, and this is going to be how about gray. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so it worked. Okay, so this is from my ng class, this is from ng class, and this is from ng style. Not a big deal. Okay, so all right, so I'll let you guys actually do this exercise. I'll give you a few minutes to try this. Structural directives are probably more interesting than attribute directive. So let's move on to structural directive. So ng4 directive is used to loop through all items and in each iteration assign the current element to the variable called item and also replace li element for each iteration. So suppose if you have an array object and if you want to display things in this unordered list, then that's where you're going to use the ng4. So here, suppose there is a fruits array. I'm going to take each of the item of the array as fruit, and then I can actually display, oh, I should say this one should be fruit. Here, sorry, fruit, like this, okay? And you can also actually have index to be assigned, okay? So let's actually do this. So here we are going to actually go to this directive component and let's create an array. So I'm going to create an array of fruits, and it's going to be string array. And let's actually create array of apple and orange and banana. Like this, okay. And what we want to do is we want to display this the fruits array as unordered list. Okay, so we go to the template. So here I'm gonna say h4, and this is the ng4 example. So let's say ul, and here we're gonna have li element, and for li element we are going to use ng4. So here let item of collection, so here is going to be, I'm going to just call it fruit, and the actual the property is going to be fruits, right? And here I'm going to use interpolation. So basically if I say fruit, then it will display each of these fruits. Okay, so let's save the change and let's see what we got here. Okay, so we have apple, orange, and banana. And if I want to have an index, so in the case is semicolon, and I'm going to call it my index and say index. And then you can actually specify, if I want to specify my index value right here, then it's going to be my index. And maybe I want to actually have something like this. Okay. All right, so let's save the change. Then we should have an index starting from 0 here. Oh, we have a problem here. So let's see, fruits, my index. Yeah, so yeah, that looks good to me. So let's see what I did wrong here. Oh, the my index is index. My index. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong here. So definitely column 29 of let fruit of fruits my index. Yeah, it definitely something wrong there. Let's see. Oh, the li is not closed properly. Let my index. That looks good to me. Yeah. What's wrong with this code? I mean, looks good to me. Let fruit of fruits and semicolon. My index. Say I'll just say I. Shouldn't make any difference here. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Yeah. So this one, semicolon. All right. So I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna just copy this code. Yeah. Interesting. Li. Oh, I probably don't need I here. Yeah. Oh, that's right. It's let. Yeah. I'm not sure what is. Oh, yeah. It's probably this guy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that works. Okay. Yeah, so there was actually some issues with this this double quotation. When I copy the code, it has a problem. All right, so you can certainly have this index things to be actually displayed as well. Okay, so now what I want to do here is that I want to be able to actually add something. So I'm going to have input elements. So I'm going to have input element, and here I want to have this is going to be type text. And here I'm going to actually make a reference, my input, and I'm going to call it button here, and here on click, and we want to add my input value. So we want to add a new fruit to the to this fruits array. So I'm going to actually click so I say add a new fruit. And I should have the onClick method here. So onClick method, and should receive the fruit, new fruit, and here basically it's going to be this fruit, and we're going to push to the array. So here fruit, like that. Okay, so let's save the change. And so whenever we are adding new fruit, watermelon, and add new fruit, and it should actually reflect it right here, watermelon 2, and you just keep adding it. All right. Okay, so that is the ng4. So ng4 is for displaying the array, typically in the ordered or unordered list like this. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys about the 5 minutes to finish up with the ng4 directive. Next one is the ng directive. So basically, depending on the value of this ng if here, it will be displayed or on display. So we have seen this example already. So let's actually do this. So we're going to go to template here. So g4, and here is ng if example. So I'm going to have a div element, and this is the message. This is a message. Okay, so that's probably good enough. And here we're going to actually again using ng if, and that is going to be some kind of switch value here. And again, depending on switch, we want to display these things or not, right? So we want to have some kind of a button to trigger the switch value to be on and off. Yeah, so this is the similar example we have seen already. So here, trigger the toggle switch, right? So we need to have a switch property as well as toggle switch method. So here we are going to have switch, and that is going to be Boolean. And for now, let's actually say true, and toggle switch method, and this is going to be this switch, and toggle this switch. Okay, so that's pretty much what we want. So let's see. Oops. Let's see what the error message is. Oh, so HT4, yes, actually misspelled, I guess. H4. Okay, so this is a message. We're gonna actually have a text. Yeah, so this one should be click me. Okay. Yeah, so the message being displayed and the undisplayed hidden. So that's ng if directive. And let's actually move on to ng switch and ng switch case, and then we're gonna actually call it a day. So let's actually have ng switch h4 ng switch example, and here let's have the ng switch. So I'm going to use the different code compression, ng switch. Yeah, it's the one. Yeah, so this is kind of old, so this is not, yeah, so in this code completion it actually says ng switch when, that's kind of old, so it's changed as ng case, ng switch case. Alright, so depending on condition of expression, so I'm gonna actually say my switch, I'm gonna just call it my value. Depending on the my value, this different value will be explained. So here, if the value happen to be 100, then we're gonna say 100. And let me just copy this guy. So here, if it is the 200, we are going to display 200. If it is 300, we are going to display 300. And the default is going to be 1000. Okay, something like that. So we're going to actually have a my value property in our component class. So my value property is going to be 100, and we want to actually set this value from input form field. So here let's actually create the yeah, for now, if I save the change, it will display 100, right? Okay. Yeah, it will display 100, right? So now we can actually have input field, and that is going to be, we are going to actually reference, my input, and we're going to actually have a button. Yeah, actually, instead of using a button, you could actually use the input trigger, and then here you can specify the some value. So yeah, so here I still have to have a local reference, my input. And here input here, I'm going to actually call it a method, change my value method, and I'm going to pass my input value. So whatever that is being typed in input from field will be used to set the this my value. So let's actually change my value method. So change my value method is receiving some data, and here we are going to actually have this my value, and then data will be changing it. All right, so let's actually see whether we have input element, and then oops, we have some problems. Problem is the on-hand promise template, blah blah blah. My input is defined. Oh, so yeah, I'm using my input in multiple times, so that's the reason. So I'm gonna actually here, I'm gonna call it my input 2, like this, and save the change. Okay. Okay, so now it works. So here it is input value. So if I say 200, you can see it's being reflected, right? 200. And if I say 300, then it gets reflected. If I have incorrect, the another value, then the default value is actually being displayed. Okay, so that's ng switch with the ng switch case. All right, so that is the end of the presentation. So right now we have about the 13 minutes, so I'm gonna let you guys finish with the ng switch as well as ng if. Okay, all right, so let me just